Hello everyone, I am Duke and welcome to a rather interesting episode of the Feel No Pain podcast, because today I am your guest and we have a guest host for the 2000 subscriber Q&A. So I'll hand over to Scanner Barker, who will introduce himself and then put me in the spotlight and will answer your questions. So Scanner, over to you.
Yeah, we're turning the tables this week. I'm here to take over. People might know me from my own channel where I discuss Trench Crusade and do lore and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought I would jump over this week. Question asker was needed, so I volunteered myself. So let's make sure they've stayed on uni this week. Me. Alrighty, so give us a run through of how and when you first got into wargaming.
So I was about 8. So I'm 33 now, so do the math, because it's early in the morning and I've just woke up, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, I was about 8 and I saw some miniatures in a market in the middle of town, weirdly enough. And I was with my nan and she got me 2 miniatures in this stall. I think it was probably the old Patriot Games. If anybody's from the Sheffield area, that's been a massive influence on a lot of war games, a lot of just card gamers and general hobbyists in the area over the years. So I think it was from there. And I got these 2 minis, and then I just sort of thought it looked cool. There were 2 Space Marines. One was a Black Templar, one was an Ultramarine. And then I ended up getting an Eldar Fire Dragon as well. And I was like, oh, this is kind of good. And then sort of, because I ate it, went to the back of my mind. And then a couple of years later, my brother starts getting into Warhammer 40k. And that's when we sort of start actually buying the boxes and things. I jump in at 3rd edition. And for a few years, it's a bit of just me and him having games. We have a bit of a hiatus over 4th, come back in at 5th. I jumped straight in with Tyranids, then Orcs follow not long after. And then as I'm getting a little bit older, we have a break again, come back in the end of 8th. So we played up till 7th, missed 6th, played 7th, did the end of 8th into 9th, and then I've been in it since 9th pretty much, almost non-stop. 6 armies in, and then adamant that I wasn't going to do any more game systems. I didn't want to do anything different because there's so many rules in 40k. Stuff was so rules intensive, and everything's changing all the time. So it's hard for me to keep track of it alongside day jobs and stuff like that. But then Trench Crusade came along, and it was refreshingly simple and quite an easy thing to get into. The lore got me straight away. And then this whole channel happened. So there's been a really weird journey through wargaming for me, but it's been about 20 odd years in the making. And to be fair, I quite like the position that some of the bigger war games like 40k are in at the moment. I know there are a lot of issues with 10th edition. A lot of people aren't fans of it. But I remember old 3rd edition skimmer rules where your land speeder could just drift off and blow up some of your own guys, or if you weren't firing at the right angle with a sponson weapon, you couldn't hit that tank on its front armor. It had to be the side that was stronger. And, that's incredibly difficult to get your head around when you're a seasoned gamer. As for new people coming into it, I think it's a really hard barrier. It's a hard sell to go to someone. So you've got to buy these miniatures, then you've got to paint them yourself. And then what you've got to do is you've got to learn this rule book that's about 300 pages long. And the keywords alone will take up multiple hours of reading for you to get your head around. And then you can have a game and everyone's going to batter you because you're only just starting. I think it's a hard sell for a new gamer. So I'm glad they've moved into the simplistic way with 10th. And I'm also glad that Trench Crusade is going through that similar thing of a limited data sheet, very easy structure, very easy to build, rosters, and quite quick and fast-paced games. Anyway, I realised I rambled a little bit on that answer, but yeah, that's essentially what happened. Started as an 8-year-old, thinking orcs and marines were cool. Jumped in with NIDS, and then now 6 armies deep, and sculpting a fair few things on my own. Yeah, it's, some people would call it a problem. I don't. I see it as a hobby still, sort of. But yes, that's the answer.
Within 40k and Trench Crusade, what else are you into in wargaming?
Not a great deal. So there's 1490 Doom, which is, you know, on the verge of its full launch. That's coming out. That's looking really interesting. If anyone's not familiar with it, think about it like Medieval Knights meets a bit of Smash Bros, meets the end level of Worms, where all the water's come up to get you. Yeah, it's like lethal snakes and ladders. I'm quite looking forward to playing that. Once I've built a terrain board, obviously Trench Crusade and 40k. I dabbled a little bit in iOS, and I have a joke army called the Legion of Horsey, which is pretty much a load of Soul Black Grade Lords, Knights, and Black Knights and Blood Knights. And the joke is that one of the Blood Knights' horse is actually the leader of the army, not the vampire on the back of it. It was just a silly throwaway comment we made in the game a few years ago, and then it ended up as this meme list with about 40 cavalry in it, which is actually quite good on the tabletop, but I don't play it often. Yeah, that's the only other game system I play apart from 40k, Trench Crusade, 1490 Doom.
Okay. Somebody wants to know which is more grimdark, 1490 Doom, Trench Crusade, or 40k?
It's got to be 1490 Doom. It's the newest one of the 3 of settings, even though Trench Crusade is pretty young itself. But Nolan gets out alive in 1490 Doom. There is no hope of any survival because the apocalypse starts in 1490. Everyone's dead within 4 to 5 years, and that's it. There's no more story beyond that because the world's ended. I think with 40k, you are, and with Trench Crusade as well, you're hit in the face really early on with a very grimdark aesthetic, and that draws a lot of people in. But as you go down the iceberg, yes, it gets grimmer, yes, it gets worse, but there's always that level of hope in every layer that, you know, right down at the bottom, well, Imperium Man is in a bad place at the moment with the Great Rift in 40k. You know, chaos is resurgent in the setting. It's becoming the problem. It's always been a problem, but the Black Crusades have cracked the galaxy in half, and everything's going a bit awry for the Imperials, but there's hope they can fix it. They've got Belisarius working on he's going to a planet where there's an old, not a Faris device, but an old Necron device that's trapped in a temporal, bit of a temporal lock, I guess. So he's trying to fix the Great Rift through that way. So there's hope there. There's also hope in almost every other conflict that 40k goes through. And that's the same for Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade, I feel like the faithful are definitely on the back foot. The map doesn't show that. But the lore seems to suggest that all the technological advancements are on Hell's side. Hell has the ability to deploy forces in not greater numbers, but more raw power to its warriors. It's better equipped, and it's taken the fight for the faithful. But the faithful are, you know, fighting back. They've got the communicants, they've got the Metachrist program, and there is hope that they can win this. It's also a 2 minutes to midnight setting where, in my personal opinion, God's got his finger hovering over the nuclear button, the end the world button, if Hell's Covenant of Hell is breached. But I don't think that would be ever used because the faithful don't want to destroy creation, and Hell doesn't really want to destroy either. They want a route up to heaven to challenge for the throne of hell. The throne of heaven. So yeah, I feel like 1490 Doom has to be the most grimdark because there's no hope in that setting. Except for hope on a personal level for, 20 minutes from now, maybe I'll find a bit of dinner or somewhere slightly higher than the place it was 2 minutes ago. But everyone's fed in 5 years. So, yeah, no, the most grimdark for me, I would say.
The other two, maybe there's always a reason to win the fight you're in 1490, it doesn't sound like there is.
No.
So I'll just sit there and give up.
Well, 1490, I did a video on it last night, actually, and introduced the Doom companies. And the entire reason why the people are fighting in the Doom companies and trying to get to these higher locations, it all sort of just boils down to that very human quality of just not giving up and refusing to give in and just surrender to the creeping death. The creeping death is going to kill them all. And the reality of that starts to set in over the course of the game's timeline. You know, people realize there's no getting out of this, but they kind of just sort of accept it and go, yeah, but I'm not going down without a fight. And it's that sort of defiance of I'll choose how I go out, whether that's I'm the last person living on the tallest tower and I choke to death from the creeping death, or I'm fighting over meals and stuff and I go out in a blaze of glory in a massive battle. Yeah, that's pretty much the setting of 1490 Doom. There is a reason to fight. It's just that defiance of having lived and also the refusal to just lay down. But yeah, pretty much there's no hope beyond that.
Interesting. We have a question. What's the backstory with Nero, O'Malley, and Donahue? Do they know each other?
They do. So I won't go too much into it. And for people that don't know, Nero, O'Malley, and Donahue. So O'Malley and Donahue are part of the Seraph Touched. They are a warband of trench pilgrims that are part of my Tales of a War Prophet narrative series. Nero is a witch burner. He is part of my investigation series, so he's my in-universe guide to things that are popping up in Trench Crusade. So when we got a little bit of a teaser for the Temple of Metamorphosis, I did a video on that, and that was Nero explaining what he's heard in a interrogation with someone. Same with the Path of the Beast, and a little bit of the monsters of the Levant. He was exploring, or he's in the Levant. They get attacked by a thing called the Macaronian Wolf, and I can delve a little bit into the monsters and myths around the Levant in that. But they all converged in a recent story that I did, which was Hell Knights, Damnation, and Basalt. And I implied heavily in that all three of them knew each other, and they do. The backstory of them is that Nero, Donahue, and O'Malley all grew up together. They all joined the ducal forces at the same time. O'Malley's brother is killed in a conflict. Nero is blamed for that in some way. There's a rift between the three of them. Donahue's name is actually Donahue. It's a name he's taken on from a member of the Seraph Touch that has died and hasn't returned as a martyr penitent, so he assumes that name, as all the other Seraph Touch do. But yeah, there's this friction between them because of past history, and they also have a history with the main villain of my narrative, Ma'at, the sorcerer. It's named after an Egyptian goddess, which has nothing to do with what the sorcerer is and what it does, but there is a reason behind that as well, and I will be exploring the backstory a little bit more. But in short, yes, they all know each other. Donahue knows all of Nero's warband. O'Malley was court-martialed from the Duke's forces. Him and Donahue were ex-mechanized infantry, so they're much larger than the rest of the pilgrims. They're much more capable in a fight. And Nero was the witch burner that kind of sentenced him to his court-martial, but also saved him from going into the Red Brigade, which is where they get Sergeant Johnson the dog from. But yeah, that's roughly the story of it, and I'll be exploring that all in a couple of videos. Hopefully, not too distant in the future.
Nice, sounds good. Pro tip for the question asker: sometimes you just gotta wait a couple of chapters or installments, and you'll get the answer to the question that you're looking for. And it's called narrative development, folks. Alrighty, when heretics or court demons die, I actually really like this question. I've got my own opinions on it. And when heretics or court demons die, are they dead, or do they go to hell to be revived and get a redo?
Right. So I think we could both have our own answers to this, and I'm interested in what yours is as well. But I think weirdly the answer is yes and no. So we know with the chorister, they are revived after 9 days, but they die in hell, or they die in the earthly domains of hell. So there's a hint there that hell has the power to return people to life, but everything has a mortal spark. The only things that would maybe be able to avoid death are probably the most divine beings like God, the major angels of the setting, all the archdevils. But I feel like everyone's got, a shooter's chance of killing anything in Trench Crusade, even God, with the right bullet placement. So do I think Hell's forces get a redo? Under very specific circumstances, yes, heaven and hell can bring people back. We've got martyr penitence for the pilgrims. The chorister returns after 9 days. But I think by and large, once people are dead, they're dead, and the same for demons out in the Levant because they're not a full demon. I think the only exception to that would be when heretics die on, I think it's hallowed ground. They become trench ghosts. But that's not really a raided, that's I'd rather have died.
Yeah, that's entirely. I've got a very different take on it. So obviously your soul is damned, you go to hell, you become a demon, or you're a heretic, or whatever. I think, there's redos. Like, I think the way around the idea of people seem to think that hell has like infinite souls.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it just have an infinitely big army and all this kind of stuff? For me, there being a war to fight doesn't interrupt whatever the societal mechanism of hell is.
No.
Right? If you think about it, you wake up, you go to work, you do your job, you come home. That's your life. There's a structure to hell in that same way. Things need to be done. There's no point in being powerful if there's not people being subservient. So there's a society in hell. I think when, let's say you're an anointed, you go into the lake of fire, you come out, you're a badass. You go to Earth, you're kicking it with your warband for 50 years, getting in all these little skirmishes and being a badass, and then you catch a sniper priest round through the skull. I like to think of it as if your patron who sent you in the first place has decided you failed, they like send your soul on what in my head I call a penitence cycle, where it's a lot of kind of torture and bad things that can happen to you for 50, 100, 300, 1,000 years, whatever they decide. They're like, all right, you screwed the pooch, you let me down, naughty step for 100 years of barbed wire being pulled through your eyeballs. And, they move on. Their favor then falls to the next person. I think for people who are very powerful, they can probably dance with it a little more. They can go in and out as they want to. They've got more agency. especially as they can keep their own secrets and do their own things and be somewhat independent of the whims of archdevils and more powerful demons. And like, I think there's a lot of room to explore with stuff, but you can kind of do whatever you want. Like if you're in, I think one of the reasons why people ask this question is that they play campaigns and they have a character that they really like and the character gets clipped and dies and they're like, fuck, can I just bring him back? Like, yes, you can. Like narratively, there's a means to do it. And where your patron would just like return them to life as long as you pay your ducat price or your glory points or whatever. You can just call it that and bring them back. Obviously, they'll be starting fresh. They're not going to come back with their keywords and all their earned stuff, etc. But people can have their fun with it. So yeah, that is my take. Now, this next question, I think this is a loaded question, but I think it's a fun one. I think it's a fun one to talk about. If you were asked to join the TC team, would you join them to help develop the game?
The obvious answer to that is yes. I would join them. I would help. But I agree with you. It's a bit of a loaded question. I don't know. Well, exactly. But I also don't know what I would do that would be beneficial or useful to them. I'm not a rules writer I'm not a rules writer for games. You know, and if I was, I wouldn't be Thomas Purian. They've got a rules writer. I write a little bit of narrative story every now and again, but I'm not Andy Chambers. I'm not any of the guys involved with the narrative behind it. There's far more talent than myself. I can paint miniatures. Some people would say I paint okay, but I'm not Mike Franchina as an artist. You know, what would I do that wasn't making the tea in the office? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not.
This is what I was thinking when I saw the question, because I applied it to myself when I saw the question, because people want to be nice and they want to be supportive and they want to be complimentary, and they'll come along and they'll be like, oh, they should really get you to write a book. It's like, there's no evidence anywhere on my channel or in the work that I've done that I would be capable of writing a book. Would I love to write a book? Yes. Do I have the desire to write a book? Yes. Do I have any history of writing a book? No. And I think it's wonderful that people are that supportive. And I think it's great to have a dream and an aspiration to be kind of at that level. And the reason I want to go into this one a little bit is because I see people a lot in the community say, I'd love to do X, I'd love to do Y. The map came out over the weekend and some guy was like, oh, they should totally get me to write this. And I'm like, why? What do we, realistically, what do we bring to the table?
Yeah.
Why ask us for anything, and why wait to be asked when we can create ourselves? Yeah, exactly. Do our own thing. I love the Trench Crusade team and I love the product, but if there's one thing that my YouTube channel has taught me with regards to my own creativity, is that I should trust it more and I should develop my own things, my own universe, my own world, have my own fun, and do exactly what Mike started doing 10 years ago and just doodle with a universe. And 10 years from now, you might be exactly where they are in the moment. It comes up a lot in the Trench Crusade community, people asking, how do I write? How do I draw? How do I X, Y, Z? Do it by starting to do it.
Yeah. It's a thing, isn't it? Everyone would obviously like to join the team of the thing they're passionate about, but you also have to be realistic and put into place, what do you offer them? What could I go to Mike, James, or Thomas, or any of the guys that are working at Factory Fortress and the wider team, of which there are only about 6 of them, so not that many. Where would I be able to go and say, oh, I can make a difference here with the skills I have? if you're someone who knows Latin and stuff like that, and you're one of the people that they went to say, hey, you are a Latin expert, can you help us with some Easter eggs in the map? Cool, you've done your bit, you've helped. I don't have that skill. I just have to be realistic about where I fit in with it. So would I like to join the team? Would I like to help them? Yes. But also, like you say, I think people need to be realistic on what they could offer to the team. It's like when I first reached out to 1490 Doom to start doing a bit of work with them, I didn't go to them asking them to be, oh, I want to do this field and I want to, if you pay me this much, I'll write this thing for you. It was very much a case of the other way around. I went to them and went, I like this. Can I help you with it? Can I maybe write a story, or can I maybe do a review or something? And they went, oh, actually, yeah, we quite like your stuff. Here's a couple of miniatures and here's the rule book. Crack on, write some videos. I'd rather approach a company like that and go, can I do something that will help you, rather than me kind of going to a company and going, I do this and obviously you're going to want it, so you need to bring me on board. That's just the stupid way of doing it. And I think a lot of people kind of almost assume that that's how it happens. They think that people with this passion, this interest, can approach these teams, however small or large they are, and say, oh, I do this thing and I'm obviously a good fit for you. But what do you offer? And, be realistic.
Feel like you're a good fit. Small knit teams are very interesting things, because Mike, Tomas, James, as they brought in Andy, as they bring in Jervis, these are people with tremendous experience, previous form, working at the highest of levels, extreme levels of professionalism. Like, nobody's going to be sitting in a Discord call where they're talking about the next 6 months, jealously protecting their own ideas.
Oh yeah,
they're going to be willing to shed whatever needs to be shed to make the thing work. I just I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind for myself, is people will roll up and they'll go, oh, the Trench Crusade team should really get you to do X, Y, Z. It's a wonderful compliment.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it really is. Like, it's a tremendous compliment. And I think it's wonderful that people engage passionately with the things that we do on our channel and that other YouTubers do on our channel. And I think it's like cool as shit. But I think the realistic answer to the question of, like, if Tomas turned around tomorrow and offered me a spot on the Trench Crusade team, I'd shit my pants.
Good shit.
No, that he. Yeah, you'd have an absolute panic attack. Like, the level of work would be ridiculous. So yeah, dope ass question. And ego should always answer yes. In those circumstances, you should always want it. You should always aspire to it. But the gulf of the things that we need to do, and basically what I'm trying to say here is that, like, when you watch YouTubers, they will have a thing that they cover and a thing that they would love to cover. Yeah, and the thing that they would love to cover is normally their own thing. So when they start doing that, engage with that as passionately as you do the other thing, and support them on that path of growth, basically is what I'm saying, because it'll mean a lot to them when it happens. All right, we'll go to the next question. What's your favorite Trench Crusade faction and why?
It's the Pilgrims. They're all just nutters. How can you not, as an orc player, how can I not be someone who looks at people running at tanks and demons with a grenade strapped onto the end of a hammer and go, yep, they're my faction. pretty much that is the top and bottom of it. I like the madness of the trench pilgrims, even though obviously they're not all insane, clearly, but there is an inherent fun aspect to the trench pilgrims that is juxtaposed to the seriousness of some of the others, and I really gel with that. I also really like the Papal States Intervention Force because it means straight out the gate in campaigns I can use witch burners and observers and stuff like that. And I keep kit bashing. I keep kit bashing heavy machine armor. I've made heavy machine armor kit bashes that I'm going to use in my trench pilgrim forces as reinforced armor. But liking the models of a faction is one thing. But the lore behind the pilgrims and their play style, everything else about the pilgrims draws me to their faction as that being my favourite. I think a close second is the Papal States.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that aspect of the pilgrims is what makes them super interesting, where the bad guys have like demons and weird diseases and magic and all kinds of crap, and New Antioch has like heavy armor and big ass machine guns, and the Iron Sultanate has alchemical magic and Taquin beasts, and the pilgrims are like, I have faith.
Yeah,
I just love that short kind of nuance. Like, I believe I will win. Fuck you.
Yeah. What's the thing, wouldn't it? Like, the pilgrims are the most direct answer to all the other factions. Like, the demons probably are that for the heretic and hell side. But the pilgrims go, I'm just gonna punch you in the face until either I die or you do. And there's an inherent simplicity to the pilgrims, but also in the way they go about that, it's quite fun. Whereas, something really serious like the Synod of Strategic Prophecy, I don't think there's a single joke told in the Valley of the Word. Well, there isn't. There's not going to be one. But 100% the pilgrims have got a little bit too drunk in New Antioch. They've started a fight with someone. They've insulted a few people, stumbled out into the trench lines, and all of a sudden they're fighting a werewolf. There's an inherent just crazy journey you can go on with a pilgrim that I don't think you would go on with a New Antioch yeoman or the Iron Sultanate are an incredibly serious, incredibly warlike people. Right? They're very much right. They need to defend this, and this. They're annoyed with the faithful because they blame them for opening the portal. They kind of got a point. And the Sultanate's very much like, right, we need to just take the fight to the enemy. As is New Antioch. New Antioch's got a very grim and like a very grim, button down and very focused attitude. The pilgrims are just sort of like the plucky idiots that run into the fight, not really understanding what they're fighting against, I guess, some of them. They're just like, all right, God told me to do this thing, or that nun told me I should go over there. And that guy looks like he's shouting the loudest, so I'll follow him. They're pretty much orcs in Trench Crusade. So I can't not like them.
They're just fun. In a sad way sometimes, but definitely just fun. Alrighty, what are you most looking forward to for Trench Crusade?
Right, getting the rules. If it's true, and we're getting either a faction or sub-faction for the Synod of Strategic Prophecy, I'm looking forward to seeing how they play, because I can imagine them being very much board control and messing with things. And yeah, I'm interested to see what comes out for them. Lore-wise, I want more lore on the Temple of Metamorphosis. I want to know what happened at the Battle of Absalom, because I want to see Saint Dominica as Weehand just taking out hundreds of heretics before she eventually gets overwhelmed by a pupil seraph. because her charge falters. So she wasn't on the back foot. She was charging in this. So what did that badassery then go on to inspire in the Trench Crusade verse? Probably a couple of Pilgrim sub-factions, definitely a Crusader order, in my opinion. So the short answer is pretty much everything that's coming out for Trench Crusade, but if I was ready to drill it down, I'm looking forward to seeing for Hellside the Temple of Met, and then for the Faithful factions, looking forward to the Synod. Then again, though, I'm interested to see if one of my theories about something hinted in the map is correct. And I'm doing a whole video on it, which I need to go really down the rabbit hole on. So I'll not touch on that here, but yeah. One map thing and one thing for the Hellside and the Faithful factions.
Ooh. Besides the obvious bolt action line, somebody's very curious about kit bashing here. What other kits are good to kit bash Trench Crusade minis with?
So anything from the Warhammer Old World range. So I use flagellants for trench programs. I can't see any on here. Otherwise, I'd show you. Flagellants for trench pilgrims. You've got bolt action. Kings of War's not bad. Conflict 47 would be a decent kit bash range as well. Just be careful though that some of these ranges, like Conflict 47, are full resin kits, which obviously people are working with anyway. But you might just get a cast miniature. Either cast in metal or cast in resin that is the full miniature. So kit bashing them is more difficult without having to chop into things and that sort of stuff. But I'm trying to think of any sculptors that are doing something. Cults 3D's got some interesting sculptors on it that are working with things analogous to the Trench Crusade sort of aesthetic. You could easily kit bash them in.
Yeah.
AOS for
Mr. Said shout out to Mr. Jar. Mr. Jar. Cults, you'll see a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people just coming up with like interesting kit bashing and digibashes as well. So really, I guess the answer that I'm trying to say is whatever you find interesting, whatever miniature range that you like and you enjoy working with, use that as your basis because you're the most comfortable with it, and you'll know the nuances of a bolt action kit better than I will if you play bolt action. So you'll be able to go, right, well, this bolt action mini would really fit with this. If you play Kriegers in 40k, they're an obvious fit for the new Antioch guys. And then Perry miniatures for the Iron Sultanate. They've got some, I think it's like Arabian soldiers or something like that in Perry miniatures. But again, just be wary of the scales of these miniatures as well. Some are 28mm, some are 32mm, some are 28mm heroic. And, just have a play around with something that you really enjoy. And there will definitely be a way you can bring it into Trench Crusade, from my opinion.
Now, somebody gets very specific with a kit bashing question here. What could I do to make Cossack heavy mech suits?
So I saw this one and I thought, I'm going to have to put this one in. Korsagi Night Guard from Curse City. You get the full Korsagi. They're very much Cossack aesthetics. And then kit bash them around with a couple of things like some helmets to replace the Night Guard's head. And you've got the huge greatcoat and thing and the furs that they'd wear. Also, the Ogre Moor tribes in the Laramie AOS. Ogre Moor tribes with a bit of extra armor bolted on would probably work quite well as well for Cossack heavy infantry. I imagine that their heavy infantry aren't actually heavy mechanized suits. They're just massive, massive guys with a little bit of armor bolted to them. A bit more like a mini communicant I'd say. That's if they even have it. My theory is that if we got a Cossack sub-faction, they wouldn't have heavy and mechanized infantry. They'd probably have cavalry. Rather than heavy mech suits, they'd probably have like a light cavalry skirmisher type unit, probably a ranged cavalry. If you are sold on the idea of doing heavy mech suits, I'd go with Crusade Night Guard and convert them, or Ogre tribes, convert them.
Nice. I've got a range of more YouTube-y oriented questions all in a lump now that we'll go through. I just gathered these ones up together. Who would you like to have as a guest on your podcast?
It's a really short answer to this one, and it's really obvious when I say the name, John Blanche. I'd love to have him on the podcast, because I just want to talk to him about all the, like, as an 8-year-old seeing the Emperor on the Golden Throne in the 3rd edition rulebook 40k. He's been someone who has been incredibly influential on the settings of most of the Warhammer, or most of the Warhammerverse, and also most war games in some way. He's an icon in the setting. I'd love to talk to him. That's pretty much my answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer. What's been the toughest part of starting the channel?
So I was trying to think about an answer to this morning. I'm going to sound like a bit of an arrogant arse when I say my answer, but bear with me because I will explain it. There hasn't really been anything that's been tough starting the channel. It's all been not relatively easy, but it's not been too challenging. So I tried to come into it with the mentality of, I know nothing. I am going to learn how to do everything to do with YouTube. So probably with no expectation and learn as you go along, which has meant that although it's been a challenge to get these things in place, get that learning curve in place for me, nothing's felt difficult because I've had no expectation going in. So it's not been like, oh yeah, I really need to get to 500 subs, so I need to agonize over how I get subs, and that then becomes a challenge to me. Or, I need to agonize over the correct vocal ranges and mics and audio and stuff like that. I've not put pressure on myself to make it a challenge. I've gone into it with going, okay, let's just learn. Let's just have a little bit of fun. I will learn a lot. I will gain more interest in these things as I go along, and it will eventually fall into place for me, and I'll have a better setup eventually because I'll have the money to do it, or I'll find someone that can edit videos better than me. My early edits are a bit naff compared to my newer edits, and it's seeing that growth. So nothing's been particularly a challenge, but that's because I've come into it with a very open mindset and wanting and a willingness to learn and put the work in.
Leads nicely to the next question. Any tips for somebody wanting to start their own YouTube channel?
Just start. Yeah. I was thinking about it over a number of days, and weirdly enough, I was in Kiriath's server earlier on his Discord, and we had a brief conversation about this, a couple of his members and myself. I've been in a really low point over the entirety of this year, over the last 6 months. The end of last year was bad, and I'm coming out the other side of it now. But in that, I got this weird feeling of, do you know what? You already feel crap. So if YouTube goes badly, it's not going to make you feel worse. So you may as well start it, and it might make you feel better. So for me, this sort of sitting back and procrastinating, worrying about, should I start it? When do I start it? What do I do? What do I cover? the best way of answering all those questions is just to start and see what happens. You might be struggling on 100 subs for a number of weeks, or you might find that you launch one video and it gets to 6 million people, and all of a sudden you're quitting your day job. Just start it, and you will learn as you go along. The only thing that is stopping you is your mentality, in my opinion.
There's definitely a good. So I don't mean to like directly call out these communities. I'm just mentioning them as good things to read for examples of people who stress way too much about stuff. Is NewTubers and partner YouTubers subreddits. Yeah, people. I occasionally have this stuff pop up on my homepage on Reddit, and people will be fretting about everything. Like, oh, my click-through rate is this, and my impressions is that, and like, I could give a fiddler's fuck about that kind of stuff. It's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing to focus on. The best advice that I could conceivably think of for somebody who's starting, other than just start, is if you're not starting from the point of view of wanting to have fun, you have a problem. It's fine. I'm not against people who start YouTube channels specifically to make money. I have no issue with that whatsoever. YouTube can be a job the same as any other job. It's like being mad at somebody who works in a shoe shop. It's like, you don't love shoes? You're only selling them? What? A job is a job. But you can have that job when you know how to do it. And until then, you're just learning. Set up a channel, have some fun, learn the things that you need to learn, and you can always set up another channel. When you know all those things, then you want to start really focusing in on, okay, how do I monetize this time and turn it into a job? I've done YouTube for 13 years. And for 12 and a half of those years, I didn't give a shit. Like, I was just having fun, enjoying myself. It was a way to be creative when I was ill, or it was a way to be social when I was feeling antisocial, or it was always just whatever I needed it to be. And sometimes I wouldn't post for like months or up to years because I didn't need it to be there. I didn't need to post it. And the conventional wisdom would have been that every time I kickstarted it again, I should have had a new channel instead of trying to do like new topics on an old channel. That's now like, that's bad juju as far as common knowledge anyway, unquote. But like, why? I just wanted to have some fun. And when I started doing Trench Crusade, I just wanted to have some fun. And 50,000 Trench Crusade associated subscribers later, guess what? Nothing has changed. I still want to just have some fun. If interest in Trench Crusade wanes, or if my particular channel just goes out of fashion, it's all gravy. Like, this is all just supposed to be fun. So start today and have fun. Stress. There's more than enough stress in the world. Definitely don't fall into, there's a big trap right now on YouTube where negativity is king. Because the algorithm will push it a little more and people will engage with it a little more. But the problem then is you're turning the thing you do into something that is by design inherently negative. And you need to get yourself into a negative mindset every time you approach the concept of doing something. Pick a thing you like: music, books, cinema, Coronation Street. I could give a damn. Just pick something you enjoy and make a few videos about it. And guess what? If you're still making videos a month from now, you might just like doing YouTube.
it's that one of those weird things, isn't it? Like I saw vidIQ, are a channel that started getting recommended to me as I started becoming a YouTuber, and they help YouTubers get started. And I've dropped in like a couple of videos just to see, a few things about what they might recommend. And one of them was talking about like getting started as a new channel, and it wasn't like, oh, you need to do this, and this. The entire impetus of that video was just start doing something, put it out there, learn as you go along, because that's how you're going to find enjoyment in it if you really want to actually do this. And they were saying that the majority of people that are asking the questions of how to get started, this, that, and the other, and also like worrying about CPMs and worrying about monetization or worrying about how to get subs, they haven't actually got a channel yet. So they're already putting themselves under this incredible amount of stress, thinking, right, well, when I eventually do start, like maybe next year, because I need to get all this stuff in place first, then how do I get subs once I've done that? And then, well, but if I do that, then I might get monetized. And what's the CPM and what's an RPM? And how do I use Brand Connect? Don't worry about it. You're not there yet. Find the thing you enjoy. Go, cool. I want to learn about this thing. Because that's how I did it. I went, oh, I like Trench Crusade. Everyone's learning together. So I can't really be wrong in what I say, because we've all got the same book. So as long as I read that book, I'm good. I can do a video on that. I can read this page this week and do a video on it next week. And we can all learn together, and I can help bring that verse that I enjoy to a few more people. So, pick the thing that you enjoy and then just start and go forward with it. Like you were saying, don't stress and agonize yourself over, right, well, I need to start this, and it needs to be a job. It doesn't need to be anything. It needs to be something you can stick at before it earns you any money. So yeah, give yourself the freedom to say, let me just enjoy the process, and then go from there.
I can also tell you, as somebody who I've talked to, I guess, companies now in the industry, and they refer to me now as a big YouTuber. Yeah, they will tell me you have a big channel. And the one thing that really stands out about my channel, far more than my sub count, is how many views I get versus how many subs I have. Like, I'll get similar views each month to channels with 3 or 4 times my subscriber count.
Yep.
And they'll be like, oh, you really should like monetize your audience better. You don't monetize your audience. And I'm like, maybe that's for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I don't want to.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a book to be a bit of fun.
Yeah. And you don't need like 16 ad placements in an hour video, because that's going to just annoy the viewer and they're going to bounce from the video. Like, if we're in the lucky position, and it is a lucky position because so few YouTubers get to it, of getting into that YouTube partner program, over 1,000 subs, and I'm getting a very, very minor, tiny bit of ad revenue at the end of this month. But it isn't sub count you need to be focusing on. It isn't the views or anything like that. It's the consistency. Like you're saying, also having a product that people want to come back to. Like, you could monetize your channel to the nth degree, and all you'll do is lose subscribers and piss all your audience off, because every 20 seconds there's an ad placement, or it's putting stuff out there that people want to watch and want to enjoy. And that's how you, from my perspective, that's how you specifically get viewer counts totaling the same as what I see other YouTubers get, in like the 20-odd thousand. And it's also something I've seen with myself on a micro level. There are YouTubers that are covering Trench Crusade that are the 8, 9, 10,000 subscriber level. Some of my videos are out competing theirs because I'm not trying to force products down people's necks. I'm not trying to force ads down the necks. I've got 1 or 2 in a video, but I'm here for me to enjoy it, and maybe you might as well. Let's see what happens. Not.
And also, there's also plenty of folks who started covering it the same time I did, or close to the same time and they're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, sometimes you have time to start, but having time to continue is the very difficult part of this stuff. So it's like anything else. If you start and you're trying, don't beat yourself up if it just falls out of your daily cycle.
Yeah.
Ultimately, life comes first.
And it's about being realistic about what you can put into it, not what you'll get out of it, but what can you realistically put into a YouTube channel, because then that will denote your returns from it. I've been lucky enough to have the time to be able to put roughly between 3 and 7 videos out a week and support that with a couple of shorts. When I first started, it was all shorts. So all the short content took me I got it down to about half an hour, 45 minutes to write, record, edit, and put it up, including descriptions and hashtags. But that's 45 minutes for a 20-second clip. So there is that thing of make sure you've got the time to devote to it that you can consistently do. If that's 1 video a month, like what I think Lutin brings out 1 video a month, or once every 3 or 6 weeks, or it's right, I've got time after work every day to do a new script and then record it and put it out for the next day. All right, so you're getting 4 videos out a week, but that's something manageable for you. Manage what you can put in and let what it gives you back sort itself out. Is how I.
Most of the work in my videos is pretty easy. Where my thing gets more difficult is obviously the unique writing that I do. Hand of Fate, One Man's Fall, all those stories.
Yeah.
That's where the difficulty is. And I'm a writer by trade. It's what I do. So that's where, by having that unique aspect of my video also be something that is my strength, I'm making my life a little easier.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm out here trying to do like Roger Deakins level cinematography in my videos and having to learn all that stuff. That's not me. Why do that? So just like land on something that you like, approach it in a genuine way, and you'll end up in a pretty good spot. A really good example of this actually is somebody who has nothing to do with the board game space or Trench Crusade or anything like that, but is the person that I consistently point to right now when I'm talking to people about YouTube, is a guy in the fitness space called Sam Sulek.
Oh yeah, I know Sam. Well, I don't know Sam, but I know of Sam.
His videos are just him doing his thing.
Yep.
They completely contrast the fitness space. They're not edited into oblivion. They're not storyboarded out before he records them. He just drives to the gym, talks to the camera, works out, talks to the camera, drives home, talks to the camera. And he's just being himself, and people are resonating with that. So he kind of did the scariest thing first, where he gave himself the opportunity to be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. It's easy to hide behind fancy graphics, paying a really good editor to do really interesting edits, paying a voiceover person to do a really good voiceover, paying a script writer to write a really good script. At that point, what have you done?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, you're also not the YouTuber then, right? What you've done is you've got everyone else to be the channel for you. And it's none of your actual own work going into it, which I guess, some people need that. Some people need a team around them. And obviously bigger channels do have teams. But yeah, man, just enjoy it for your own process and enjoy what you enjoy. And surprise, other people play war games. Other people like films. Other people like the same bands as you do. You put out your interest and someone goes, that resonates with me. I'm going to go watch this guy or girl. And, just don't agonize all this stuff.
Exactly. Alrighty. Any future plans for your channel and projects?
Yep. So I haven't got it here with me. I was meant to bring something in to the I say studio's the bad word. It's the cupboard I recorded because the boiler is right there. So that's the ticking you can hear in the background. It's actually the clock for the boiler. Anyway, so future plans for the channel. I'm doing some charity raffles coming up later this year. I started, and many people know me from Instagram as the charity mini painter. I say many. I've only got like 700, 800 subs, followers. But I started doing charity raffles like 6 years ago, and that's what brought me back into wargaming in general. So I'm going to be doing stuff like this. This is the bit where I drop it and completely smash it. So some Chaos Knights are coming that I'm sculpting, and they'll be raffled off for charity later this year. I've got terrain board builds coming up. I've got some members only exclusive videos. Like I'm going to try and start a content creator quiz night where we just stick that on the channel. It's like a 10-15 minute video where we just ask silly lore questions or gameplay questions of some people's favorite content creators, if I can twist around to bring them on. So there's that coming up. There's all the stuff for 1490 Doom, which I'm really excited on. I've got an extended narrative now with O'Malley and Nero and Donahue, and see where their story goes. I know the end of that roughly. And I know that the Tales of a War Prophet series will end. The investigation series that Nero heads probably will continue on much longer than that because there are new releases for Trench Crusade. But then the end of the Tales of a War Prophet series allows me to go on and pick a new narrative with some new guys and go, here's a new story in a different and interesting way if I want to carry on with narratives. Beyond that, painting videos are coming up. Sculpting videos are coming up. Pretty much doing YouTubey things. And so hopefully people enjoy it.
Nice. And any plans to expand to other platforms?
So I'm already on Blue Sky. I'm already on Twitter. I'm already on Instagram, YouTube. I won't be going on TikTok. I'll be keeping an eye on TikTok just in case any of my content arrives on there. Like it did a few days ago on another YouTube channel, which I thankfully had removed that content from. Twitch, maybe. So yeah, there are some plans, but they're way off yet. And let me do one thing, one thing at once. And you know that I can do. Do a YouTuber, I do YouTube. Then I might get round to parking my shorts on TikTok at some point. I think I've uploaded a total of 2 of them to TikTok. But TikTok is a very different thing. I feel like the audience there is very different. They like that you sitting there talking in a more jovial fashion, whereas my Trench Crusade content tends to be more in-universe. Yeah.
So while I personally see Trench Crusade as being quite grim derpy and almost funny with how overblown it is, I treat it like it's a serious thing in the video because normally I'm somewhat in character.
Yes.
As this fireside narrator type of person. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, one thing.
Yeah.
I think is enough.
I also think just don't run before you can walk. Like, I've just started YouTube. That's a massive undertaking. I've already been doing it I've been doing it just coming up to 5 months. I keep thinking it's longer. I keep saying to people 6 months, and 4 months in. Let me focus on this. Let me build this, and then eventually I'll go on to stuff like TikTok, or I can't go on to TikTok. My day job permits it, and I'm not going to go into that any further. But Twitch, yes, possibly. Blue Sky and Twitter, I post stuff onto semi-regular, like shorts and things to direct people to videos. I also link the videos in. Reddit, I'm quite active in the Reddit community at the moment. That probably will die down because I become active on Reddit and then realize you're on Reddit and Reddit is Reddit. So maybe take a step back from it for a little while. And same with Discord as well. At the moment, I'm quite active in a number of Discords, particularly the Trench Crusade main Discord and the Trench Crusade TTS Discord. So I'm active in those. But yeah, man. Eventually, yes. But let me work out how to walk first before you ask me to roll.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all the questions.
Right then. Well, yeah, that's it then. Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you to Scanner for asking the questions and volunteering to be the host of this. I hope everyone that asked the question has had their question answered in a satisfactory way. I hope that everyone's found a bit of enjoyment in this. And hopefully I will see you all soon in another installment of the podcast. Eric Marco Robertson, the creator of 1490 Doom, is coming up on a podcast. Stick your answers, stick your questions for him below this video, and I'll ask them on there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.